Babylon, 323 BC. The air inside the palace hangs heavy, as if the walls themselves are holding their breath. In a dim chamber, on a bed soaked with sweat, the most powerful man on earth is dying. The face that once terrified kings is pale. His breathing is shallow, fragile, uneven. He is only 32 years old. Around him, his generals gather in silence. These are men who have crossed deserts with him, broken empires at his side, and watched nations fall at his command. But now, their faces are drained of color. Their eyes are filled not with triumph, but with fear. They lean closer, because the world has narrowed into a single question, one final answer that will shape the fate of millions. To whom do you leave your empire? The dying conqueror lifts his eyes. His lips barely move. With what little strength remains, he whispers, "To the strongest." And just like that, the world begins to burn. But how did it come to this? How did a boy from a small, rugged Greek kingdom conquer nearly the entire known world before his hair had even begun to grey? How did he march farther than any king before him, break armies that seemed untouchable, and become a man who never lost a single battle? Not one. This is the story of a mortal who reached for the status of a god. This is the story of Alexander the Great. Welcome to History Story, where the past is brought vividly to life through blood, gold, fire, and ambition. If you love epic tales of the men and women who shaped civilization, subscribe now. Today, we travel back to 356 BC. In Pella, the ancient capital of Macedon, a child is born into a world of power, prophecy, and danger. From the very beginning, his mother, Olympias, whispers extraordinary ideas into his ear. She claims his true father is not King Philip II of Macedon, but Zeus himself, the king of the gods. Imagine growing up with that whisper in your mind. Imagine being taught that greatness is not merely your destiny, but your birthright. But Alexander was not just fed on myth. He had the will to match the legend. When he was 12, a massive horse was brought to the Macedonian court, Bucephalus. Huge, violent, impossible to control. Hardened soldiers failed to tame it. But the boy noticed something they did not. The horse was not vicious. It was terrified of its own shadow. Calmly, Alexander turned the horse toward the sun so it could no longer see the dark shape on the ground. He spoke softly, mounted it, and rode. The court stared in disbelief. King Philip, weeping with pride, uttered words that would echo through history. "My boy, you must find a kingdom large enough for your ambitions. Macedon is too small for you." Time Alexander turned 20, his father was assassinated. Suddenly, the weight of the kingdom fell onto his shoulders. Many expected chaos, thinking youth meant weakness. They were wrong. Alexander moved with cold, swift decisiveness. He crushed rebellions, eliminated rivals, secured Greece, and turned his gaze eastward to the greatest prize in the known world, the Persian Empire. Persia was a massive, wealthy superpower, stretching across continents. To challenge it was bold. To defeat it seemed impossible, but impossible meant nothing to Alexander. At the city of Gordium, he was presented with the Gordian knot, a knot so complex that prophecy claimed whoever untied it would rule Asia. For generations, men had tried and failed. Alexander studied it for a moment. Then, he drew his sword and sliced it in half. For him, problems were not sacred. They were obstacles to be broken. The ultimate test came on the plains of Gaugamela. Alexander faced Darius III, the Persian king of kings. The numbers were staggering. The Persian force was vast, outnumbering the Macedonians heavily. On paper, Alexander should have been swallowed whole, but Alexander fought with speed, nerve, and terrifying precision. At the head of his elite companion cavalry, he launched a direct, surgical charge, straight into the heart of the Persian line, aiming directly at Darius himself. The move was audacious, reckless, but it worked. Darius panicked and fled. When the great king turned his chariot, the soul of the Persian army collapsed. Gaugamela was not just it was the breaking of an empire. Babylon opened its gates, Susa fell, Persepolis, the heart of Persia, burned. The empire of Cyrus and Darius passed into the hands of a young Macedonian. Egypt hailed him as pharaoh. At the oracle of Siwa, priests declared him the son of Ammon. Alexander no longer seemed content to be a king. He wanted to stand between humanity and... So, he kept going, eastward, always eastward. Across rivers, over mountains, and through monsoon rains, he drove his army into India. But here, the campaign grew harsher. They faced war elephants and relentless jungle terrain. Every mile demanded more blood. Alexander wanted to find the outer limits of the earth, but his soldiers had reached theirs. These men had marched beside him for 8 long years. Their armor was worn, their bodies broken. They did not rebel out of anger, but out of grief and sheer exhaustion. They simply refused to go any farther. For the first time, Alexander met something he could not cut down with a sword: the limits of human endurance. Bitterly, he agreed to turn back. Fate brought him back to Babylon. He was already planning campaigns for Arabia, refusing to stop. Then, the fever came, sudden, burning, and merciless. The man who had survived arrows, blades, and deserts was brought low by something invisible. As his strength faded, the whispers began. Was it malaria? Typhoid? Or was it poison, slipped into his wine by generals who had grown tired of his endless ambition? We will never know. Alexander the Great burned through life, and then he was gone. His empire fractured almost immediately, carved up by his warring generals. Yet, his true legacy was cultural. He carried Greek language, art, and ideas into the East, creating the Hellenistic world where civilizations mingled for centuries. Caesar studied him. Napoleon admired him. Who was he, really? A visionary who sought to unite the world, or a ruthless conqueror consumed by ego? A genius, or a warning? Perhaps he was both. If you enjoyed this journey, please like this video and subscribe to History Story. And if you think Alexander's story was unforgettable, wait until the next one. Because in our next episode, we turn from a man who tried to conquer the world with a sword to a man whose words, suffering, and faith transformed the world in an entirely different way. Next time, we explore the life of Jesus. Until then, remember, history is not just the story of what happened. It is the story of the people who dared to change.